Okay guys, so today we're going to be learning about how to tell the time on an analog clock. So you might have heard that before, an analog clock. Now there are two types of time telling. Digital, which is what you see up here in the right corner. So that's numbers. And sometimes this can be in 24-hour or 12-hour with AM, PM. And an analog clock, which is a clock like this. Now, you will see these in the classroom. You might have clocks like this in your home. You might have a watch that looks a bit like this. And if you go to stations and places outside, town halls, a lot of the time, the old clocks all look like this. And it's quite a useful tool to be able to read one of these clocks and tell the time. Now, if someone was to ask you the time, most of the time, somebody would respond to you by saying how many minutes past the hour or how many minutes to the next hour. That's how we would tell the time in analog. So let's have a little look firstly at quarter past. So our clock is a perfect circle, and circles can be split into quarters. So we've got 1/4, that's down here. Let me just get this so I can move it. Okay, so here we go. We've got 1/4. So 12 to 3 is 1/4 of the way. 3 down to 6 is 2/4 or 1/2. 6 to 9 is 3/4. And 9 to 12 will take us right back to 1 whole again. Now, so let's just recap on the hands that we've got. So we've got the minutes hand, which is the green hand, and the orange hand, which is the hour hand. So the hour hand tells you how many hours have passed in the day, and the minutes hand tells you how many minutes. Okay, the most important thing when you are telling time by looking at a clock like this one is that these numbers that go around the edge have nothing to do with how many minutes passed. Okay, you need to remember that's the most important rule. So many times I've had children telling the time, and for example, they'll look at the hours, they'll get that right and say, look, it's 1 hour, and then they'll put 3 for 3 minutes. That number has nothing to do with the minutes. These numbers are only for telling the time for the hours. I want you to have a look at the number 12. So look at the top, and you'll notice all the way around the edge, there are these little notches in between each number. These are what you use to help measure the time in minutes. So it takes the green hand exactly 60 minutes to go all the way around the clock. So all the way around, right the way to the very beginning. If you wanted to sit and count all of these notches, there are exactly 60 of them, okay? Now you can count them in your fives because there are 5 minutes between every single number, okay? So remember, golden rule number 1, when you're looking at the minutes, these numbers have nothing to do with minutes, okay? When golden rule number 2 for telling the time in analog. Once the minute hand, this green hand here, once the long minutes hand has gone past the 6, we no longer say how many minutes past the hour it is. We start saying how many minutes to the next hour it is. I know, a little bit confusing, but you'll get used to it. So let's have a practice run. So up here, we've got 3 hours and 0 minutes. We would call that 3 o'clock. Okay, so this is 3 o'clock. How many hours? And you'll notice the hour hand is exactly pointing right in front of the number. It is 4 hours exactly and 0 minutes. Okay, so now let's have a look at quarter past. So for the time to be quarter past, the minutes hand has to move 1/4 of the way around the clock. So what number will that take us to? So what number will the minutes hand stop at for it to be quarter past 4? That's right, it will stop at 3 because 3 is 1/4 of the way around the clock. So this would be 4:15. Now you'll notice that the hour hand is no longer right on top of right in line with the number 4. It's moved, and that's because it takes the orange hour hand. It takes it one whole hour to move from one number to the next. Okay, so this will be moving slowly to the next number. This will look like it's moving quickly. Okay, so the time here is 4:15. Let's have a look. Let's try a different time. If it'll let me select it. Come on. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at this one. Okay, so we're going to say the minutes first. We always say how many minutes past it is. And we are talking in fractions, quarters and halves. Okay, so let's have a look. We have got 4:15, and the hour that it was last at is 6. 4:06. Let's try another. Okay, what is this time? Well done. It's 9:15. 9 was the last hour that it was at. So it is 9:15 hours. And the last one is, again, 10:15. Okay, now we're going to have a look at 30:30. For the time to be 30:30, the minute hand has to move halfway past all of the numbers, right the way down to 6. How do we know that 6 is halfway? Well, if you look at it and you were to draw a line all the way back up from 6 all the way up to 12, then you would have half of a circle. Another way to know is 12, which is the number at the top. Half of 12 is 6. So if you were to double 6, you would get 12. Okay, so what time is this? Now remember, we say how many minutes past first and then the hour. So we have 30:30 and 10. So the time is 10:30. What's the time? Well done. It is 1:30. You can see now that our hour hand is halfway between these two numbers, the number 1 and the number 2. It's halfway, which means that in our next part, once this moves past the 6, we are going to have to start saying how many minutes it is to our next hour. But at the moment, it is 1:30. Okay, what time is it? Well done. It is 4:30. Okay, let's move on to 1/4, and I'll explain why we say 1/4 and not 3/4 past. So we have gone halfway around. Our minutes hand has travelled halfway around. Now, once it's gone past the 6, it's gone half of the distance. Okay, so we no longer say how many minutes past it is. You would say how many minutes it is until the next hour. So that means that we're not looking at the hour that has been, we're looking at the hour that is coming in the future. So let's go to the 9. So the 9 is 3/4 of the way around the circle. Yeah? But if you look at the shape here, it is 1/4 to the next hour. So it's 1/4 to the next hour. Now, what is the next hour? Well, it is, you can tell on the digital display up here, the hour that it is still is, it's been 4 hours and 45 minutes. So it has been 4 and it's 45 minutes past that hour now, but we wouldn't say past. We would say how many minutes it is until the next hour, and the next hour is 5. So we would say 4:45 and 5, which is our next hour. Okay, let's try another. I mean, you can tell because it's closer. It's getting closer, so it's nearly a new hour, and that's why we would say how many quarters it is to, or how many minutes it is to the next hour. So what time is this? That's right, it is 6:45. Let's have a go. What time is this? It's 8:45. The orange hand is not quite at 9 yet. And you can tell in the digital display it is still 8 hours 45 minutes. So it's 8:45. What about this time? It's 12:15. 12 is the next hour, and it's 1/4 of the way to get to that next hour. Last one. What time is this? It is 2:45. So even though it's 2:45, the next hour is 3. Okay, so I hope you found this useful, boys and girls. And if you have any questions about telling the time, 1/4, 1/2 past, or 1/4 to, then just send me a little message. I'll be able to help you. And yeah, just keep practicing. Have a go at trying to tell the time regularly in your own home, or get a watch. And as long as you have a clock that looks like this and you practice all the time, then you should be able to pick it up, no problem. If you want to come onto the website that I'm using this clock on, it's called visnos.com. That's V for Victor, ISNOS.com. And you can use the clock that is on there, and you can have a look at the relationship between the analog clock and the digital time as well. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this, and goodbye.